So what is inflammation and where does it go? So in my book, I talk about New Mexico. That's where I'm from. We have these beautiful adobe homes, right? They're kind of flat looking. They're southwestern looking. The problem with our roofs is that they're flat, so they don't drain when it rains, and then we have roof leaks commonly. Most people in the Southwest may know this from Arizona to Texas. We just have these roof leak problems. So think of your body as a flat New Mexico roof, and think of rain being inflammation. And when the inflammation goes onto the roof, if it doesn't find, it just looks for the weakest spot in the roof, and that's where the roof leak is. So similarly, trauma in the body is something very similar. So if you have trauma, either whether it's 50 years ago, you played football, got into a car accident, or fell off a ladder or a horse, or you just tripped and fell in the winter last year. Once the body has some damage, there's some inflammation there, and that inflammation then continues on a small microscopic level. So it's never 100% fixed, just like your roof. They fix the roof. It's never 100% fixed. So if there's anything that comes in, inflammation into the roof or inflammation in your body, where does it like to go? The place that had previous damage before, because it's still the weakest link. All right. So anything that has a bad back, a bad knee, some kind of injury somewhere in the body, or systemic shock to the body, then that's where the inflammation likes to go. Now, pathology is the second place where inflammation likes to go. That means disease or degenerative area. So think of a tree falling on the roof. If the tree falls on the roof, there's a dent. And then immediately when it rains, it goes to that spot first. So a lot of people will have multiple parts where it's like, oh, I have a bad knee, so my knees start to flare. But as that knee gets worse, then, okay, my back or the rest of my muscles, or I get headaches, because that's the other roof leaks that are occurring. Overuse is another place. So overuse, we need healthy inflammation. So think of exercise. We need to exercise, and having a little bit of soreness is important because that's actually building the healthy. That repetitive motion can cause, or overuse can trigger that healthy inflammatory response to become an unhealthy inflammatory response, particularly when it's added to the diet and lifestyle, which is already pro-inflammatory. Okay, so plantar fasciitis, carpal tunnel, all sorts of aspects of inflammation can occur. So overuse, too much of a repetitive motion, and most people have jobs that we're working in a grocery store, working construction or something like that. We can just be standing on our feet all day in a hospital too. We can get inflammation just from that. And places where your immune system is not paying attention. So this is important because right now, understanding, immune system has also come out this year. There's a whole section in my book. I won't get into it too much today, but vitamin D is super important. Make sure that I recommend everybody checking your vitamin D. Ask your doctor for a vitamin D blood test, and you need to get between 60 and 100 on this test. If you have cancer, you want around 70 to 100. You don't need to have higher, but you definitely want to be above 60. There's a 60% reduction in chronic disease with your levels being in that range. And what that means is that vitamin D is a non-specific biomarker on how strong your immune system is functioning. So you want to get your immune system stronger. And it's the cheapest, most simplest, easiest thing to do. And in fact, a study came out this week showing in Germany, what happens is they discovered that if by getting the vitamin D into this targeted zone, right, 30,000 deaths from cancer would be prevented in Germany every year, and about 300,000 euros, or so over $300 million, would be saved. And that's just cancer alone that they were looking at. They're not looking at all these other comorbidities that also get improved, right? Like depression and anxiety and insomnia and obesity and thyroid problems and autoimmune problems. So it's very interesting. And what they're doing is implementing a strategy where, since it's a socialized care of medical system of, healthcare is a right, which it should be, and we don't have it here, unfortunately. But what it does is that it's going to raise the level, and they're going to actually provide vitamin D at it's very expensive right now. I tell everybody, for $10, $15, you can get, 100 tablets of 5,000 IUs. Take it with your largest meal. It's a fat-soluble vitamin. It absorbs 60% better with fat. So take it with avocado or seeds or nuts, or, if you're having a salad with olive oil, whatever your largest meal is, take it with that. And then have your doctor check it. And you want to be checked annually because you want to get in that target range. If you're in the target range, you're getting one of the most, biggest bang for your buck, as I would say. Antioxidants are highly found in plant materials, but there's very little to no antioxidants in animal protein. 99%, I'll say it one more time, 99% of all animal protein right now in the United States is produced on factory farms. And so I always get patients, well, Dr. Pai, I'm eating clean, I'm eating clean. It's grass-fed, it's grass-finished, it's wild caught, and that's rare. It's a rare case that someone's eating that kind of quality food for every single meal. Why? Because if it was true, it wouldn't be 99% production the other way. right? So some people may get a wild caught fish and they might get a grass-fed finished steak that's still pro-inflammatory, still has cholesterol, still has no fiber, no phytonutrients, right? It just has less toxins than the regular stuff. But, interesting note aside is that organic clean meats, when they compared it to standard conventional meats, didn't have any statistical difference in terms of outcomes of disease, meaning they both cause a disease. We thought that just lowering the hormones and the antibiotics would be a big enough gain, and it's no. The heart attack, the stroke, the diabetes, the cancer risk is the same. We were eliminating some of the long-term risk of toxins, but that didn't change the overall health outcome. So eating cleaner, a lot of people, I eat clean. Clean does not mean healthy. Clean just means cleaner. Right, so that it is still a step up, but it's not a step in the right direction of getting to optimum health. Phytonutrients. So what is a phytonutrients? Phytonutrients is phyto meaning plant nutrients. So when you go to the store and you see like all these health products, right? You'll see like beta carotene, right? From your yellows, right? You see squashes and your butternut squashes and your carrots, right? And you see like vitamin C and flavonoids, and you look at your indole 3 carbanols and sulforaphanes from all your broccoli and cruciferous vegetables, and you look at your anthocyanins from your blueberries and resveratrol, and you look at the EGCGs from your green tea. All the plant phytonutrients, they only come from plants. So there's no animal protein that has been shown to prevent, reverse, or treat a disease. I'll say it again. I'll say it 3 times to make it a really point. There's no animal protein that is given to prevent or reverse or treat a disease. So that you'll never see in science, you'll never see in a hospital or a doctor, saying, let me prescribe you a beef pill, a chicken pill, a pork pill, an egg pill to reduce your cholesterol, your heart disease, your high blood pressure, your depression, your diabetes, your cancer. None. But what we do see in all the studies is something that's coming from a plant, right? So we should be eating these kind of foods. And most importantly, also, plant protein has fiber. So if you eat beef, chicken, pork, eggs, dairy, fish, for example, anything that has a mother or a face, that's an animal protein. Easy way to remember, because my patients are always like, well, is dairy a protein? Is fish an animal protein? Does it have a mother or does it have a face? If it has a mother or face, it's an animal protein. It has no fiber. So it's going to have cholesterol, it's going to have no fiber, it's going to have no phytonutrients. So no fiber, but fiber is important, not just for evacuating the bowels. It's more importantly, we now understand that 80% of your immune system is in your microbiome in your gut. And the fiber is what feeds the short chain fatty acids from fiber, is what feeds the N-butyrate molecules. It's like the CoQ10 of your gut. It feeds the energy. It promotes diversity of your microbiome. The fact that colon cancer is number 2 cause of cancer, both men and women in the United States, is not surprising, because the average American diet has about 7 to 12 grams of fiber, and we need about 30 to 35 or more grams of fiber daily over time. So what we're happening is, without the fiber, we're not having the bowel movement move enough, and then that pro-inflammatory foods stay in our colon, triggering chronic inflammation of the colon, aka more colitis issues, but also growing and developing more polyps. Polyps are just irritations of areas that have inflammation, and that increases that risk of that polyp over time to potentially turn into cancer. And that's why both men and women, number 2 cause of cancer in the United States. Now, other countries, like yesterday with Esselstyn and Baxter and Colin Campbell and Dr. Lee, they were talking about all the research about, all these other countries that don't have colon cancer risks, because they're predominantly eating high foods in fiber, which are plant diets. Okay. So this is what our plate should be, fruits, legumes, vegetable grains, and replacing the soda and the dairy with having more water. And I would say more clean water, so filtered water, and we can talk about that later. So at the end of the day, when people look at these kind of things and say, well, where do you get your protein? I say, where do you get your anti-inflammatory protein? Where do you get your phytonutrients? Where do you get your fiber? Where do you get your antioxidants? And, here is where we should be going. Now, my recommendations is basically minimally. My book will cover all of the each of those categories in detail, but whole foods, plant-based diet. Recently there was a study that came out like 2 weeks ago. You might have seen it. It was on the news. It was every morning show. I know there was like, the magic number is 5. The magic number is 5. And I'm like, what's this magic number they're talking about? And it's like, what's the minimum amount of veggies and fruits do you need to consume a day? Right? That's a typical American say. What's the minimum that we need to do? What's the minimum amount of exercise we need to do? What's the minimum? We always want to do the minimums, because if we hit that number, then we can do whatever we want. I find that quite funny. But, at least start with that, which I think is fair. Start with at least 3 veggies extra a day, 2 fruits a day, and that gives you about 50% reduction. But why not do better, right? So, the earlier studies showed that 3 additional would decrease by 30%. So it's like a 3-3-3. So if you got to 9 servings of veggies and fruit, you would get a 90% reduction in disease. When people move plant-based overall, just overall with all the health disease parameters, there's about 80% improvement and reduction in their chronicity of the disease, reversal of the disease, or a stopping of the progression of the disease. So why not do that? There is no drug right now that we have on the market that does that. So if we were to get a drug that gives a 5% improvement, or even now there's cancer drugs that give a 1% improvement, it's a blockbuster, meaning, 10, $15 billion market share every year. And here we can give you a 90% reduction. Take a little bit of vitamin D, for example. You can exercise, do all the epigenetic aspects that are in my book that we explain. And wow, what a health improvement.